Hi everyone, in this lecture we are going to learn about anonymous functions. So, whenever you define a function without a name, it is called an anonymous function. Weird? Yes. For the first time it might sound weird, but give me a moment to explain it a bit more. So generally, we define a function using a keyword def followed by the function name. But it's not the case with anonymous function. Instead of def keyword, we use lambda keyword followed by the parameters and an expression. And that's why anonymous functions are also called lambda functions. And an anonymous function has four main components. First of all, we have the lambda keyword, then the parameters, and then a colon, and finally a single expression, and it's the main operation which this function performs. Thus, the primary difference between a lambda and a regular function is that lambda function evaluates only a single expression and yields a function object, and we will see how it yields a function object, so don't worry. And without further discussion, let's start writing code. So I am on my VS Code and I have created a new Python file with the name anonymous_func.py. And first of all, uh, in the discussion part, we have learned that an anonymous function always starts with a lambda keyword. So just type here lambda lambda, and then we need to define the anonymous function parameters. So let's suppose this function is going to take a single parameter, and that will be a, and then we need to put a colon and then an expression of the function, which is the core part of the anonymous function. So for example, I need to multiply the parameter with 2, and then I need to return the result. So this is our anonymous function, a lambda keyword, an argument followed by an expression. And here, as you can see, we have not assigned any kind of name for this function, and that's why this is called an anonymous function. Now there are two methods to call this. One is to directly pass parameters in front of the expression and then save the result in a variable, and the second method is that in the discussion part we have learned that lambda returns a function object, so we can save that function object in a variable, and then we can call that function object and just pass the required parameters and get the result. So first of all, let's discuss the method number one. So just write here in the comment. So in this method, I'm going to directly pass the parameters in front of this expression. So in order to pass the parameters, you need to put the function in the rounded brackets. So just put rounded brackets around anonymous function, and then you need to put another pair of rounded brackets, and now here you need to pass your parameters. As you can see, VS Code is also suggesting us. So for example, let's pass here maybe 5, and we know very well that if you multiply 5 with 2 you will get 10, and I'm going to save the result in this result variable, and let's print this result variable. Okay, let's run it, and 10 here. Now you will be thinking that we can perform this task without using this lambda keyword, but I'm going to answer this question in the next lecture, because in that lecture you will learn why we actually need lambda functions. So for now, just focus on this lecture. So I hope that you have understood this method. First of all, we have defined our anonymous function in these parentheses, and then we have defined the parameters. So you can pass here multiple parameters, like let's suppose this function is going to take two parameters, a and b, and then I'll multiply a with 2, I will add b in the answer. Now here in these rounded brackets you need to pass two arguments, one for a and second one for b. So let's pass here 10, and now our result will be 20. So let's run it, and we got 20. And now let's discuss the method number 2. So in the discussion part, I have told you that lambda functions return a function object. So just write here another lambda function, lambda, and this will take maybe x, y, and z, and all of them will be strings, and I'm going to concatenate them. So just write here x plus y plus z. Okay, so we have defined our parameters and then the expression, and now I'm going to save the function object in a variable funct underscore obj is equals to. Okay, before I actually pass the arguments to this funct object, let's print its type. So just write here type and then funct object. Let's save it, let's run it, and here as you can see that currently this funct object is an object of function class. So don't worry, we will discuss classes and object in the next section, but for now just keep in mind that this funct object variable is a function object. If it's a function object, this means that we can pass arguments to this variable. So just call here this funct object variable, just put these rounded brackets, and now here as you can see VS Code is suggesting me x, y, and z. So let's pass here our string, and let's give gap between them. Okay, let's save it, and now if I run it, you are not going to see any kind of output because this funct object will return our result. So I'm going to save the result in this result underscore 2 variable, and now I'm going to print this result, and you will see the result in the terminal. Let's save it, let's run it, and we got hello world. So I hope that you have understood these two methods of calling a lambda function. One method is to directly call it, and the second one is to save the anonymous function in a function object and then call the anonymous function using that function object. So in the next lecture, we are going to study more about anonymous function and lambda functions and their applications, and I'll see you there. Bye bye.